Hello everyone, I'm Gary York, True Prison Stories, and I'm very happy today to have a special guest on the show. I have retired warden Mr. Dan M. Reynolds. He's a retired warden from the Oklahoma prison system, and he is also the author of several prison books based on his 31-year career in Oklahoma. His most recent one coming out is History of the Oklahoma State Penitentiary. He also has a book called The Oklahoma Prison Riots, and he has several other books out on the market. And I really appreciate you being here with us today, Mr. Reynolds.
Thanks for having me.
No, I appreciate it. And Mr. Reynolds and I, by the way, are doing a book signing. You may have seen in the introduction to this video where we're signing some books and selling a few books here at the Winter Haven Library in Central Florida, and we've had a nice group of people come through and a pretty productive day. All money, 100% proceeds that we made from our book sales today are going to fight against human trafficking. And our friend John Meekins, who is a big advocate for fighting against human trafficking and also a correctional officer, he is going to get the money into the right hands to help stop human trafficking. Mr. Reynolds, before we start talking about corrections and working in corrections, just briefly tell us the positions you held and how many years you were in corrections and your final rank in corrections, as well as some of your books.
Okay. Well, I started with the Oklahoma Department of Corrections in 1980. I was recently a graduate of the University of Central Oklahoma and was looking for employment, and we had a local correctional facility nearby that was advertising for hiring. So I applied for case management and had the opportunity to work at a medium security facility in Lexington, Oklahoma. And I started out as a case manager and was there for about 2 years and was promoted to senior case manager. And then I wanted to work in the administration area, and my warden became a deputy director, and so I applied with a position with his office and had the opportunity to go work for him. And then I was there probably for a year and a half, and then I went into the state classification system and became a classification auditor. I did that for about a year and a half. And then I went back to work with the deputy director as his administrative assistant. And shortly thereafter, he was appointed warden of the Oklahoma State Penitentiary. And so he asked me to accompany him to the penitentiary as his warden's assistant. So I went to the penitentiary with him, was there for about 2.5 years. Left there, became a deputy warden at a minimum security facility in southeast Oklahoma, and was there for almost a year, and then I was promoted to a warden too at a medium security facility that had just undergone a riot, and so I was there for about 3 years. Got detailed to the penitentiary, was about 30 miles away because the warden was detailed to Desert Storm, so they moved me to the penitentiary as interim. Was there for about 7 or 8 months. Went back to my facility at Stringtown when he returned. He was later promoted 3 months later, so they moved me back to the penitentiary as the full-time warden there. I was there for about 4 years, and then I went to supervise the state's classification and transportation system there at Lexington. And I was there for 5 years. Left there and had the opportunity to work in internal affairs, supervising the communications unit, fugitive apprehension, and the intelligence unit. And I was there for about 6 years. Left there, went to community corrections, where I always had an interest in working. A good friend of mine was a deputy director, and he hired me to supervise about 15 work centers and halfway houses, as well as a contract medium security county jail facility. And then I retired in 2011 and began writing books.
Well, that's what I like. You know, I always like for our leaders to work from the bottom up, to know and have the knowledge of the prison system. I mean, obviously, you worked your way up through many different channels, and you know, a lot of people today are just jumping straight to warden, and for some reason, and never had any security experience. I'm just old school, I guess. I like people like you that work their way up to the warden position and have a good understanding and a good foundation of the prison before becoming a warden. That's just my own opinion. Now, you had a great career, a well-rounded career. We have a high turnover rate in the prison system. We know that. We have officers that come in, hang around 3 to 5 years, and it seems like around the 3 to 5 year mark is when you lose a lot of people. And we have a lot that end up making it a full 25-year, 30-year career. What advice would you give the young officers coming in today to show them or let them know about hanging in there and making it work?
Well, I think corrections in general is not a career suitable for everybody. And I think you'll find out real quick once you begin in corrections if you're going to like it or not. And also what I found out is through experience and history is that there's a lot of people that have relatives that worked in corrections. They had cousins, maybe their father-in-law worked in corrections throughout the years. And you see that quite a bit, especially in the rural areas where it's difficult to recruit good personnel. I also think too that a lot of people that stick to corrections, I think it's a calling. I think they have a desire to help people. They have a desire to see those that are maybe not as educated or in low economic backgrounds, and actually in all backgrounds, that they're available to help and to assist them. It's a professional career anymore compared to what it was years ago. The training's a lot more advanced. The training is sometimes 18 weeks long. A lot of them become commissioned as basic police officers. You've got a lot of varied positions in corrections that you can go to, just not only the correctional ranks, but you can get into classification, you can get into procedure, medical, psychology. About any job that is on the outside is also available inside a correctional facility.
And I think you said it very well. Pretty much corrections does provide a lot of opportunities. As you just said, if you're not in the correctional officer mode, or that's not suitable for you, we do need good people in classification. We need counselors, we need teachers. There's all kinds of jobs within the prison. If you're not in the mood or not in the mindset to be a correctional officer, there's a lot of ways you can work in a prison and help inmates to have a second chance.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as you see in higher security, you don't always see that success, but when you get into because in the higher securities they focus on security rather than programs, as you go down in the lower securities, like in your minimums and halfway houses, you actually get to see more of the program components, the treatment phases, and some of the programs available to help those offenders reintegrate back into society through reintegration programs.
Now, what would you tell young officers when they hit that 3 to 5 year mark and maybe they're comfortable where they're at, they don't really want to leave, but they're starting to feel a burnout or not sure if they want to stay? What would you suggest they do to get over that hump? I mean, come on, let's face it. I did 28 and a half years. You did 31 years. I had some stages in the career where I didn't know if I was burned out or just plain tired or what, but I always found a way to get over that hump. Can you think of any activities or things that they could do to last longer in corrections?
Absolutely. During my 31 career, I never was in a position over 6 years. I was always moving around, and that kept me motivated. I was learning different stuff. Just because you start out maybe in the case management ranks or the correctional officer ranks, don't feel like you're obligated, that you're stuck, that you can't go in other areas. You can certainly go in other areas, as I did. And, you could go into a whole host of different other skills and abilities, and you can go to different locations as well to gather new experiences. And that's certainly what I did, and it kept me motivated, and it kept me learning, which made it more interesting.
And I agree wholeheartedly, and I've talked to other people in corrections too, and the key is moving around. You don't even have to gain rank to move around.
Right.
You can move to different positions within the prison without gaining rank. So if you're one of those people that is not interested in gaining rank, you can still move to different positions within the prison to change up your move. You can go from dorm officer to administrative shift officer. You can go from administrative shift officer to laundry room officer. You can go to orderly officer. Some people call them trustee officer. There's many different things. You don't have to get promoted to move around within the prison. I did 28 and a half years, and just like Mr. Reynolds, or Warden Reynolds here, I had 5 different positions. I had correctional officer, probation officer, prison inspector, and then boot camp drill instructor. So, I mean, movement will help you keep busy, keep the mind busy, and get you in different task areas, and that will relieve a lot of the burnout and get you over those humps and get you to finish the career.
Right. And if your family's situated where you don't have the opportunity, or you can't move out of your own city, within your own facility, you've got a lot of other specialized jobs. If you don't want to get out of the correctional officer ranks, there's a lot of specialized areas in the correctional officer ranks that you could pursue. Key control officer, tool control officer, fire and safety officer, all those in a lot of states have correctional officers in those roles. So you can specialize even in the correctional officer ranks without having to leave the facility.
Correct, because we have some people out there that have told me, I'm happy where I'm at as an officer. I don't want the promotions, but I don't want to be stuck in the dorm for a 25-year career.
Right.
So you can move.
Absolutely.
You can move, and you can move without gaining rank, and that's the key to keeping the burnout down. And let me just throw a couple of things in, folks. Exercise. Get you some exercise. You know, some facilities, you're fortunate enough to go at lunch and lift weights or get on a treadmill. Some aren't so fortunate. We know that there's just no time for that. But on your off duty, get exercise. It relieves all the stress from the day. Go out and walk a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, run, jog, lift weights. Don't take the stress home to the family. If you got to go home, do it immediately. Change into your running gear and go out and do a jog, because the later you stay, it gets in the evening, you're not going to want to do it. And you'll be surprised how much exercise will relieve that stress and also help get you over the hump.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to have a good balance in your life. You know, you work an 8-hour shift. It's always good to have outside hobbies outside the prison facility. I took small engine repair just because I was interested in maybe learning something different. So getting involved in community activities or something that you have an interest outside of corrections certainly helps.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of people don't think about that. Outside activities after work can really help a lot with your job to get you over the hump and relieve the stress. We need good officers, and we need officers to stay. This isn't the topic today. We're going to continue to fight to try to get officers pay raises and the equipment they deserve. Is there any final statement you'd like to give to those officers about hanging in there and making it a job or a career? There's some call it a job, some call it a career. But what would you say to a young officer if he came to your warden and said, I've been here 5 years, but I just don't think I can do it anymore. We can't control people's lives. We can't make their decisions for them. But if you knew this was a good officer and you didn't want him to leave, what would you tell him?
Well, I would certainly encourage him to look at other options and alternatives in the correctional family, either inside the ranks of a correctional officer in uniform or even outside in other areas, and also develop a plan for that employee to try to get him down the road that he wants to go in. So if he's burned out working in a post as a correctional officer, but he has another interest in another field or wants to specialize, then I would certainly want to do everything I could to help him succeed and develop a plan, get him the tools, the resources he would need or she would need to be successful.
And in the military, we had a saying, support our troops, of the troops, and for the troops. And as a warden, do you believe still to this day that it's part of your job to try to help these officers become successful?
Absolutely. I think my whole purpose in corrections as a warden was to provide the resources to allow my staff to succeed in every capacity. And if that includes education, training, job resources for shift work, or whatever the case may be, to allow the employees to have a lot of input as to their own designation in their career and what they want to make them a better person and a better employee.
And I appreciate that, and you and I have talked quite a bit, and I'm very secure in saying this. You're the type of warden that I would have enjoyed working for. We were in two different states. Mr. Warden Reynolds was in Oklahoma, and I did my career in Florida. Before we close, please tell us what website or where do we go to find the books that you have written and where we can order them from.
Okay, I've got a website that you can order my books through credit card purchases. It's Dan, D-A-N, just the numerical 1, last name Reynolds, REYNOLDS, .tictel.com, and you can order my books from my website.
Very good books. I've got 3 of them at my house. There's a couple more out there I need to get. Your most recent one is coming out, correct?
Yes, I've got the history of the Oklahoma State Penitentiary, covers from 1908 to 2015, has over 700 pages, has a lot of pictures with captions, and kind of progresses through the history of the penitentiary in Oklahoma.
And those are very interesting to know the history of our prison systems in every state, as a matter of fact. Check him out. Please check out his books. I think you'll enjoy them very much. And we want you to tune in. And I think that Warden Reynolds will be soon doing some YouTube videos as well. And we'll let you know when his YouTube is up. And I will announce it on my channel so that everybody can get on to Warden Reynolds YouTube. And I really appreciate you being here today. I'm glad we got the opportunity
Absolutely.
to get together. We're far away from each other, Oklahoma and Florida, so I'm glad we got to do this.
Me too, and I appreciate the opportunity to be with you.
Thank you, sir. Best of luck. Everybody stay safe. If you like this video, please subscribe.